All right, we are back on Morning Line. Final segment this morning as we're talking about the NASCAR soccer situation at the Fairgrounds, along with the Metro Salaries situation with Councilman Bob Mendes. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Problem.
It's always
happy to be here.
Every time he comes on, I learn stuff. I think he's great at explaining things, and I think you're a very level-headed guy.
Oh,
which
thank you.
Well, to me anyway. That's we get people on here, and it runs the gamut. But level-headed is one of the things I place a high premium on. Someone who seems rational and fair and tries to call it as they see it. Do you think the state, after we heard yesterday the governor meeting with the mayor, would consider, there's a lot of things on the state's plate, getting involved somehow?
Well, I think we should all pay attention to the fact that the governor just gave his State of the State address and has proposed his budget for the year. And there's not a line item for racing in there.
Right.
And so that should cause anybody to wonder whether it's remotely possible that the state would be involved. Listen, I'm not invited to those conversations. Yeah. My read from the sidelines is that the state doesn't want to just tell the new mayor, buzz off, go away. But there's no indication that there's state money to bring racing to town, NASCAR to town, to improve the racetrack. There's no indication, and I think any reporter or council person who asks the mayor directly about it gets a deflected answer. There's no indication of state money for racing.
I was listening to the councilman from the district there at the Fairgrounds, Colby Sledge. Right. I heard him talking yesterday about how early on, NASCAR was talking to a lot of people, and now it's kind of a vacuum, and that he hasn't even heard from them in recent weeks, and that they're only talking to the mayor's office. Yeah,
and I think with respect to Councilman Sledge, I think that's a touch unfair. I'll do that level-headed thing.
And I didn't say that's fair or unfair. Maybe he realizes he has to deal with. They need to deal with the mayor first. I don't know.
It's anybody who ever tries to do economic development with town has to go to the mayor's office first, and they look for direction about how to handle their business. And if the mayor says, I got this, come visit the governor with me, then that's what people do. If the mayor's office says, gee, you better go talk to the local district councilman, then that's what they do. So I'm not part of the conversations, but my assumption is, from talking to a bunch of folks who've done this sort of thing over the years, people take the lead from the mayor's office about how to handle the conversation. Yeah,
that's where you go first, I guess, and that's what they're doing. So, as we wrap things up then, where do we stand? Look, my take just from the outside looking in, and we have other reporters in our newsroom who have really covered this more thoroughly than I have. I've learned a ton just from talking to you today. But I'm just saying, a deal's going to get done. I just say that some people are fearful that MLS will pull out and leave. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There's just no way. I refuse to believe that's a possibility. So, how long before maybe something, what are we maybe waiting for from the mayor's office for him to finally say, all right, start demolition?
We have zero timeline whatsoever from the mayor's office. And I mean, the risk here is that sometimes when people play a game of chicken, they run into each other in a big fiery wreck, whether they meant to or not. And we got a bunch of folks, mostly the mayor's office, playing an aggressive negotiating hand. There's already been wins that have been consolidated. At some point, you do tip the soccer folks into putting the stadium off another year.
Right. And I think they had set some kind of deadline. That, it was the end of March or something's the next drop-dead deadline, where if it doesn't get going by then, we may not be able to move in 2 years from now.
Yeah, and that's fuzzy to us that are watching about, the mayor clearly is declining to put any timeline on it. I'm sure the soccer people don't want to issue ultimatums. And we end up I'm not expecting a resolution, frankly, anytime soon.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. this is a national story because MLS is big-time soccer, and Sports Illustrated, I was telling him, had a column yesterday, and it was with their legal expert, Michael McCann, and he says the most likely outcome is that despite all the differences, Cooper and Nashville SC will strike a deal. He's from the outside looking in. He's not involved, seeing, but Cooper has already gained significant financial concessions from the team. He might obtain additional ones related to the stadium's design so that it better works with his wishes, maybe with relation to NASCAR, if and when that comes. That's the look outside, and I assume he's followed other stadium deals with soccer in the past too.
Yeah, and if I slipped on my lawyer hat for a second and thought about if I was giving advice to both sides here, my advice would be fighting is inherently risky, and so playing a hand and continuing to play a hand and continue to push somebody in a corner increases the chance of a fight. Like a successful negotiation leaves the other side an exit, and I feel like the mayor's got the team fairly well cornered, and the question is, does he want to keep pushing them into a fight, or does he want to leave them an exit? And from the soccer team's perspective, I think they're like a door-to-door salesman who's offering anything to the homeowner to get them interested. I think they can't figure out what they can get the mayor to say yes to.
Yeah, unless it's just they're arguing over that parcel 8C. But I agree with you because also lawyers will be lining up. Some litigation's already been filed. But really, if you look at it now, if the mayor kind of were to announce today, he could take credit for saving the city millions more in some of the renegotiations he's done.
Right.
And he's not going to take the beating, which he would take if somehow we lost this franchise. That would not be a good thing for Mayor Cooper if somehow MLS moved out. I don't know if it would destroy him as a mayor down the road, but if he lost him because of some bungled deal, I think that would damage him. It would not be good. Right now, he wins. The team doesn't leave. He saved the city millions of dollars. Maybe we work out NASCAR. That's just my take.
My biggest issue is delays bad. We can see people cementing into very polar opposing positions. Delay is bad. There is a deal on the table. It could be, as you described, it's a win-win. It's better than the deal that already got approved a couple years ago.
He's done a good job with that.
And at this point, speed matters. Start building the stadium or pull the plug and tell us why. This idea of letting it linger indefinitely is it's not good for anybody.
Do you think Cooper and Ingram have talked on the phone?
I suspect that they've talked on the phone.
I mean, at any point do you think Ingram's there on the phone saying, look, Mayor, just tell me, what the heck do you want? And if he does, and the stumbling block is, well, I want parcel 8C, and Ingram's like, well, we need that because we're going to need that to put in what we're going to need to raise money to pay for these bonds.
Based on what media reports and other things I've seen, I think they've talked on the phone. I think they've talked in the mayor's Prius driving around the fairgrounds. I think they've talked.
Okay. All right, well, we will see what happens. I'm just curious, I was going to wrap this up. When we talk about new things that come to the city, in your take, and I've talked to others, Music City Center, huge undertaking. Has it been worth it? All the money spent, or is it still too early to say for sure we're getting back the bang for the buck we put into it? Butch Spiriton have said, Nick, no doubt this was a good move, but I understand where he's coming from. Okay, but what do you think? Music City Center, in general, with what it's attracted, has paid off the way we thought it would?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a worthwhile project. I think we need to swing through, frankly, the mayor's campaign promise of making sure that downtown pays its fair share to live up to the promise that got made to the citizens of Davidson County, which is if we build a gleaming, bright international destination downtown, it'll pay for the things we need to do. We've done the first half.
Yeah.
We built it. It's like, yay, we did it. We have not completely executed on the promise of having it pay for the things that we need to do as a city.
Right. That's the trick, isn't it?
Yep.
Councilman, thank you for coming on. We'll see you again soon. I'll take a break, be back with a programming note about tomorrow right after this. That's a good way to end. I think you're right.